for tuning in. So the Pink Report collaborated with the NAACP Minneapolis and had an epic conversation with Angela Rose and Anika Bowie. And I'm so excited for all of you to experience the energies of these two women.
So I think that one of the things that when we're thinking about like these old civil rights organizations, right? These old civil rights organizations historically have been moved under a certain framework.
Yeah.
And it's breaking that and actually looking at how we can change our community, centering Black women, centering Black poor folk, centering like people who are actually impacted, you know? And so like that was one of the things that was always been important to me, like even in this platform, because in a lot of ways, like I'm really privileged. Like I don't hide it. Like, you know, you went to my house today, like the house that I grew up in.
Okay. You know? It was like one of those, I forgot the name of the books, but the little like Victorian houses books. I'm like, this is so cute.
Yeah,
Yes.
but you know, it's like the NAACP and like the old civil rights movement, it very much privileged a certain type of Black person.
Yeah.
You know, and the talented Tiff.
Yeah, W.E.B. Du Bois. And I think, I'll just take my I think there was a need for that. And I don't think that, you know, is an unfortunate thing. I think those who are most privileged and have the resources, the stability, the knowledge, right? And like earlier we were talking about the NAACP really is a force that is securing people's political rights, right? And if you don't know you have rights, then you forfeit them. And what I think with the NAACP and what we are doing, especially not only rights for Black folks, but centering like what does rights look like for Black women, right? And like how our experiences are very different, whether it's in the medical field, you know, receiving and requesting care from doctors, whether it is in the business industry and trying to get C-suites and trying to, you know, go up the corporate ladder. So, and I think with us being in this leadership, we have a more diverse range, and also our age too, being in our 20s. You know, sometimes I feel like I'm a little over my years. But I appreciate it now. So I think definitely that's something we can offer. And you know, 25 years old, starting off as president, like I know it sounds weird, but what do you think 10 years from now? Like you're starting at president. So like what does up look like from this position?
Well, up for me is, you know, essentially being in a space where I can do my writing, where I can impact the community on a level of like, it doesn't need to just be me. Like we built an ecosystem. Like I think right now, particularly after the murder of George Floyd, right? And the Minneapolis uprising that happened, you know, this past summer, there's been a lot of momentum, and then also a momentum to build an ecosystem, to build like not just one organization, like build up the NAACP, but like build up these different factors of what our community needs, right? To be self-sufficient, to be powerful, and I hope 10 years from now, like we have that built, so that it's like in a space where like you and me are bringing on next generation. You know. Like I think of the sadness that I feel of our generation not knowing who the generation right before us, those leaders were, because they were taken from us. Like they were erased. They were in a lot of ways like in the prison system or things like that.
People just didn't even share their story.
Exactly.
I think about there's so many folks that we know now that do have strong leadership but don't have, I guess, the privilege or access to give their story, to share their story so people can be inspired. And I think about just what you're saying with the quote, they tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. And I think now, like our leadership goals are different in the way back then it was, the leadership was whoever had the microphone and was in front of a camera, or their story was documented. Now everyone has a microphone, everyone has access to share their story, and just like even having like better ways of using different mediums, right? I forgot where I was gonna go.
Social media blew shit up.
Social media.
I don't know if
yes.
No, social media blew shit up.
Yes, all the way up, and that is why she's the Cardi B.
No, social media is been, and so like giving so many people opportunities to like spread like information, to really be authentically who they are, and then also to organize. Like social media is like this new wave of like you can get funds on social media. Like you can start your business on social media, and you don't even need to go to the bank anymore. You don't even need to invest in these traditional institutions anymore, because you can set up a GoFundMe, or you could just go on Twitter and say, this is my Cash App, and it's been interesting and like transformative for our people. But then it's like, how can we hold on to that to sustain it? Because we recognize, unfortunately, that the mode of organizing through social media is because existing institutions do not want to see us, cater to us, or, have us there. So we go outside institutions and use social media. And so I hope that in like the next 10 years from now, we're in a space where people don't have to ask themselves, man, how do I get this done? Like, how do I run a campaign? How do I, start an organization to make a change in my community? They just like have those tools at their fingertips.
I agree. And I feel like Black women have always been innovative and revolutionary. I feel we kind of overly normalize just like all the things that we have had to do to even do our hair, rock our fashion, amplify our culture. Like we never waited around for anyone to celebrate us, or even waited around for anyone to like really cater to our needs. We always like been the curators of our culture. And I think social media was, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg designed Facebook thinking that, there was going to be Black folks just like storming, utilizing, or even the Gen Zs canceling everybody on there, y'all be acting up. But anyways, but I feel like whatever Black women are a part of, we are like a leading force. Like we create a culture, we create a movement that's just like unseen, or at least wasn't even thought of. So I feel like ingenuity is always going to be there, even 10 years from now. But it definitely, what you're saying, like it's going to be more secured, more established. And I think the communication lines are going to, I hope, with our leadership, are going to be strengthened more. Especially here in Minneapolis, I feel some of our challenges is how do we get the word out, and like how do we get connected with community, because Minneapolis, or Minnesota in general, is very transplant. Everyone's coming from different places, and it's transplant but very territorial, which is kind of weird. It's very territorial, but transplant. So it's just, and we're with us too. I think both being from Minnesota, think there is a strong embedment of like really wanting to see, like you're saying, like infrastructure that lasts, because we have seen a lot of things come and go. And I've always said, even through my consultant work with government, Minnesota loves doing pilots. They love startups. They love new, shiny things. And it's just like, can we have anything that lasts longer than 10 years, please? Can we? And that's why I appreciate with our leadership and our respect with NAACP, because it's a over 100-year organization that we are paying homage to. And like being millennials and Gen Z, OG Gen Z are out here, I think that's what makes it so unique with our leadership because we're the generations that like to create our own thing. We're a generation, and we do have our own, dreams and our own platforms and stuff. But I think it is a great dedication and contribution we are giving to the generations before us to establish and continue the legacy of this branch.
What was the reason why you joined the NAACP?
I got a funny story about this, right? So prior to joining the NAACP, I always thought this organization was something that you get with your AARP card. Like, I literally never felt like in my 20s this would be something, because I've always read about the NAACP in history books. Right? You talk about the lawsuits, Brown, versus Board, all that stuff. And so I just always thought, that's what you retire into after your lawyer days or something, right? No, literally. So, but then after Nakima, she was president, and then she stepped down and ran, or she didn't run again. And then Jason became president. And Jason, I knew through my movement work, and he was a professor at Hamlin. And he really just pulled my collar and was like, "Hey, little sis, it's time for you to come in." And I never thought I was ready or prepared to even have a leadership role, especially fresh out of college. But he saw something important in me, and he saw a fire of like, you are ready. Your voice needs to be heard. You need to tell your story, and you have a strong passion and commitment and dedication. I did 4 years of criminal justice major, at Hamlin, and not because I loved it, but because I was like, this system is crazy and it needs to change. Like, what? I was in them classrooms with my professors, like, y'all are nuts, thinking this is how you're normalizing criminalization. Right? Like, there should be a more restorative way of we can hold people accountable, right? I have seen the other side of how y'all create rehabilitation process for other folks, right? That doesn't look like us. So Jason brought me in, and no, I didn't need my AA, RP card. I didn't get my retirement plan with the membership, but I was able to have an amazing family, you and so many other folks in the community as well.
Wow. No, it's so funny because I had a little bit of a similar but different bringing in, because it was Leslie. I was fresh out of college too, right? And Leslie like really, really pulled me in, and she said, oh, you should join the NAACP. And at first I said, I'm actually really busy. I have 2 jobs. At the time, I had 2 jobs. I was doing a lot of work on immigration. I'm at the immigration law firm that I was at, and then also at the University of Minnesota doing policy research, right? But it was really a lot of Leslie, a lot of you, just showing up to the meetings that like really, it was clear. It was clear that y'all were trying, but I loved it. Like, I loved being wanted, being felt like going into an accepting environment. For me in college, I majored in Africana studies, and I majored in women, gender, sexuality studies. And I was at an Ivy League institution, right? And one of the things is that we would talk about Black people, but like, we weren't talking about Black people. We read books about Black bodies, about fungibility, about, these long academic words. And that really excited me, and I thought it was really great. But at the end of the day, I felt like there was something missing. The practice of, the study. Like, you can study all of this, and you can study all of these policies, and you can study like the history, and I love history.
Yeah.
But
you're a history nerd for real.
But like, how can we make this practice, this change? Like these academic works, the practice, and then the practice, the change that we want to see, right? And that was like where I saw the NAACP for me, was because like I saw it as a place where historically, they've been the change, And I wanted to do that because at the end of the day, when you're in, North Minneapolis, or when you're in South Minneapolis, you can see that our people are hurting.
Yeah.
And there's no amount of studies or books to write or research that if we don't stand up and actually do something physically with our hands, what we can physically change, like it won't happen. Like we can talk about it to death. Minnesota, we got 10,000 lakes, 100,000 studies on black people, okay? But it's like really something where like this is the time, and this is, I think we have like enough of a movement, enough of people power and willpower to actually get dirty, get our hands dirty and do it. Okay?
Get it out the mud, you know?
Right? Like, what can I actually physically do today with my hands? Where can I actually physically go today?
Knees, toes, you know?
Right?
Ears. Sometimes people need to just listen. I mean,
okay.
even if they just listen, you know, I think there's some action in that. So, yeah.
I agree. And so that was like, I just love so much like what you and Leslie were doing was you were in the community. You were like giving out books and breakfast, you know, like you were talking to the politicians. You weren't just doing it to, you know, have a photo op and say, yeah, we talked to the mayor. Look how great friends we are with the mayor. It was like actually like challenging him, actually being like, well, fuck you. Like,
first, okay, I want to put out there, I never told anyone F you. I did tell the governor, though. I was like, and this was very post-fresh George Floyd. And I'm like, dear white America, y'all need help because y'all out here, like, how can y'all have a culture of what type of folks can excuse what Derek Chauvin did, you know, like, so I did remember at that, at the town hall, I can't walk it back now, but I was just like, y'all is crazy, you know, like, what is going on? And I hate to have broad generalizations, but sometimes I feel like when something wrong is done in our community, like, for example, O.J. Simpson, right? High profile. Every black person, I mean, I was young, but still, I can imagine every black person had to answer to O.J. Simpson. We don't have nothing to do with that. But I'm not saying that there is every white person should answer to Derek Chauvin. And
no, they should.
This is my sister, and she said she's saying it for me, okay? She's saying it for me. So, you know, I still got a little polished politician in me. So,
what they say, silence is culpability.
True. And that's just that on that. Okay. So like I think now post 2020, no, white folks need to be like showing that they are actively anti-racist. And you are not diligently, you know, practicing anti-racism, even black folks too, but like really practicing anti-racism or digging whatever internalized racism you got going on, because we all are impacted. If you went through any schooling or any type of system or assimilated to any type of culture here, there is that residue, right, of hatred, of indoctrination, of, you know, being anti-black, and what does that even mean to, you know, celebrate and love your blackness, and how even now that have been very commercialized too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like to, say, and essentially is like, the police are not the only people in Minnesota killing people, killing black people, okay? Like, social workers tear families apart, like, these teachers be miseducating our children, criminalizing them, and demonizing literally black boys and black girls, right? And so, you know, one of the things that I want to really emphasize, and this is speaking to white Minnesotans, right, is that it's no longer enough to be well-intentioned.
Yeah.
You know, like, where are the outcomes? Like, because we are a really progressive state. We have a lot of really liberal policies, right? But the outcomes are we have the largest racial disparities when it comes to incarceration rates, when it comes to students dropping out of school and, like, being suspended, and probation rates or on parole for the rest of their lives. terrible health inequities. And so, like, even like home ownership, it's like worse in Minnesota between blacks and whites owning their homes than it was in 1970s in Georgia. Like, you know, like there's things like this where you can be well-intentioned and you can say everybody have a $15 minimum wage that's going to help everybody, right? But at this point, like, what are the outcomes? And if the outcomes don't match your intentions, then that's not good enough for me.
And I believe there's a strong level of intelligence and brain power here to figure out those solutions. And most importantly, we talk about this. I'm like, every single corporation, organization, y'all need a black advisor. Like, I be telling folks before, when they try to, you know, present to us their ideas, I'm like, who did you talk to? Don't come to us after you want to make a decision and then just get our input off of your results.
No, they want our okays. But so they already read up they already read up everything they already wanted to do, and then they want us to say, "Oh, great, we'll sign on." And if we don't sign on, they don't care because they'll go to another black organization to find another black person to sign on.
And this is just right now. This may evolve into something, but I feel like the Secretary of State, if you are creating a business of any kind, you need a black consultant. I'm just put that out there, because don't just be creating things or policy. Like, you really need, like, nothing without or nothing
Without us.
Without us. Okay, let's say that again.
Nothing for us
Without us. Yes, that's how we're gonna leave that. Yes. No, absolutely. So it's just, yeah, and.
But what's the resolution? Okay, so now we talked about the problems, particularly about white Minnesotans. But I want to talk about, like, our power.
Yeah.
You know, and like the fact is that we have a lot of power within the black community. People don't like that part. There's a fallacy, right? Minnesota is white. But let me tell you, my girl Shaniqua Johnson, okay, black woman out in Worthington, Minnesota. Okay, Linda Garrett Johnson out in Apple Valley, Minnesota. Okay, you got Classy Dudley, president of the Duluth NAACP. Oh my God, out in Duluth. So we got NAACPs in Duluth, Mankato, Rochester, St. Paul, Minneapolis, St. Cloud. So, like, there's a fallacy that this is a white state, but let's break that fallacy. That's a lie. You know, there are black people here, and it's our time to really come together and do this, really lead this movement.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm Cardi B, and you're Nicki Minaj.
Nicki Minaj? Well, you know, I don't know. I need you to explain. Give some context to this.
Okay. So I'm definitely like the younger version. Like, I think that a same genre, different flavor, right? Like, you've been more established in like local Minnesota politics, like from St. Paul side and in Minneapolis. I'm kind of like the newcomer, right?
The newcomer. Well, Cardi B's definitely just a little bit beyond newcomer, though.
Yeah, baby.
I mean, I feel like that definitely resonates with you, because you have been putting in a lot of work and you have been outspoken. But I think now you're kind of like finding, you have the platform, right, with the Minneapolis NAACP now.
Yeah.
Like within position. So.
Yeah.
But I love me some Nicki Minaj, and I think what makes Nicki Minaj really great and how she popular, she had a lot of support from like Young Cash Money and, you know, kind of those like hip hop heads and everything being established. And here, I feel like also I do have a lot of support from different type of community groups who's not the quote unquote, you know, known factors, and also the established factors. So I agree.
You know,
You're like, that's not me.
I was surprised because I was like, oh, okay, I thought I was a millennial.
Right.
Now Gen Z, and I was like, you know what, cool, because the Gen Z, I rock with them, okay? The young kids, I love them. Like, you know, here's the thing, millennials, they got to vote for Obama. I never got to vote for Obama. You know, like, they didn't have flip phones, like, you know, like they were 12. Like, I had a razor when I was 11, you know?
Oh,
like,
I love
things
it.
like that.
I love it.
So, yeah, you know, I was like, you know what, maybe I am Gen Z. I really connect with the kids.
Yeah.
Like, even me and Anika were talking about it, because I was like, and then, you know, also there's some things that millennials really be fighting for that are going to get them canceled, like R. Kelly. I don't care about
No,
that.
that's mostly the Chicago folks.
That's story was